Hey everybody, happy Monday. Happy Monday and happy New Year for those of you who didn't join me last week. So, as always, let me know. I like to make sure you can hear me and see me, and let me check LinkedIn too. Ever since I had that mishap, I'm always paranoid. And let me make sure. Let me check my settings. Okay. Now the mic is on. So type 1 in the comments if you can hear me, and 2 if you can see me, and 1 and 2 if you can hear me and see me. And then I'm going to check LinkedIn and make sure I came on. Yep, I'm on LinkedIn. Okay, perfect. And I see Brady, 1, 2. Thank you so much, Brady, for letting me know. I see Jesse, Oladuni. Thank you, everybody, for letting me know. Jesse, okay. I see some more coming in. Lesma, okay, perfect. So y'all can hear me. Great. And see me. So welcome. Happy Monday, like I said. I'm gonna give it to 3 minutes after. I have a hard stop today, so I don't want to wait too long, but I want to try to give people some time to join. But in the meantime, as people are joining, go ahead and drop your questions in the comments. As you know, this is your time to ask me all of your questions. So anything that you want to ask me about, landing your first CRA job, getting in the CRA world, getting in the clinical research space, this is your time to ask me anything that you want to ask me. So drop your questions in the comments. But before we get into the questions, and I don't see any yet, I'm trying to make sure this year I want to make sure that I answer questions live instead of keeping a list, because that became such a big mess. So please ask your questions now. Put them in the comments. Don't be afraid to be the first person. But while we're getting the questions in the comments, I did want to point out that I've gotten a lot of questions in my DMs and even on posts lately about how can you get jobs without applying. How can you create this job attraction system that I keep talking about? And it's really just 2 main components. And number 1 is networking, online and offline. So when I say offline, meaning no social media or emails or anything like that, but in person. And then leveraging LinkedIn. Combining those 2, you can create a job attraction system, so you should never have to apply again. And y'all, I can't remember, at least 2 or 3 people had asked about me doing a podcast about this. And like I said, a lot of people have just been asking questions. So if that's something that you're interested in and you do want to learn more, then let me know. I can definitely do a podcast episode on it. It's a bit much to cover here during the Q&As, but just know that those are the 2 main components. That's really all you need, is the networking piece and leveraging LinkedIn. So, like I said, let me know if you want me to go in more details about the 2 and how you combine the 2 and how you can really create this job attraction system. But I see a few questions coming through already. So keep them coming. This is your time. So let's go ahead and get started. It is, what is it? It's like 6 minutes after. Let's go ahead and get started. So this person, I don't know why. Sometimes it'll say LinkedIn user and not the person's name. I don't know why. It's weird. But question is, have you heard about any layoffs in pharma coming soon? No, I actually haven't. I haven't heard about any layoffs coming. But one thing that I always like to point out when I get questions about layoffs or, retention rates and things like that, anything that when it comes to like job security questions, or people feeling like they're anxious or worried about losing their job, or is the industry thriving and booming, or is there a job shortage? One thing I always like to say about that is when you're in the right energy and in the mindset, those types of questions never even cross your mind. I literally never think about what the industry is doing, because when you have created a brand and a system for yourself, it doesn't matter if there's a recession or if somebody's laying off or what happens in any industry for that matter, is not going to impact you in any way, shape, or form. So think about it from that angle, in that focusing on brand and marketing and selling yourself, and you don't have to worry about layoffs ever again. For the person that answered that question. So thank you. That was a really good question. Next question comes from, and let me know if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I'm gonna say Janita. Let me know, Janita, if that is not, if I'm pronouncing it wrong. But if I need my resume done from scratch, is that available? I'm assuming that you mean by me, Janita. And and I only do resumes for people that are my coaching clients. So it's not something that I offer as just a standalone service. I only do them for coaching clients. Now, I did do a live resume audit, and then we did a quick, somewhat revamp, not a full revamp, but okay, awesome. I said your name right. I did I did an audit, and then I did a partial revamp live. So check that out if you scroll through my LinkedIn profile, or if you go to the YouTube channel, Jasmyn Adams or Aspiring CRA TV, then you'll find the resume audit, and then you can listen to all of the comments and the feedback that I gave about how to turn your resume into a CRA resume or clinical research resume, whatever your goal is. So check that out. Next question, and please keep the questions coming. So this one is from Jesse. Hey, Jesse. Hi, Jasmyn. I listened to one of your podcasts about 10 gateway skills. Turns out I have about 8.5 out of 10 of those gateway CRA skills. Would you say I'm a strong candidate for traveling CRA positions, or should I aim for remote CRA, in-house CRA, CTA, etc.? Oh, wow. 8.5. Absolutely, you're ready. I say that if you have even half, and some people don't even have half, honestly. They might have like 3 or 4 out of the 10. But if you're at 8.5, you're more than ready. Having about 50% makes you a strong candidate, I would say. But 8.5, clearly way past 60%, right? You're almost at 90%. So yes, absolutely. You're ready for if you want to be a regional traveling CRA, if you want to be an in-house CRA, you're ready for it all, Jesse. So what are you waiting for? It's time for you to get out there and put yourself out there, because you're definitely qualified. Okay. Janita, I see you asked another question. So, what is the best way to apply for new jobs when planning to move to a new state? Good question. You're asking some really great questions. So, it depends. If you already have like a location in mind and you don't mind working in the office, then you want to try to time it. If you don't have anywhere else to stay, of course, in either location, and you don't want to have like a break in between your jobs, you always want to try to time it. But before I even finish the answer, I do want to point out again, this is the importance. I have to keep stressing this because I want y'all to understand the importance of brand marketing and selling yourself. When you have that down packed, VMS, you don't have to worry about none of that, because you can literally get jobs on demand, like literally. So I just want to throw that out there first and foremost. But while you're building your brand and marketing yourself, you got to do something in the interim, right? So the best way is to, first of all, put your new location on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile, so that recruiters from, let's say you're moving to Atlanta, but you're in, I don't know, Dallas. If you still have Dallas on there, then Dallas recruiters, Dallas people are going to be, hitting you up thinking that you live in Dallas, right? So you want to go ahead and put that new location, Atlanta, on there if that's the case. And then you also want to apply for jobs again. If you're open to in person and you're not specifically only looking for remote, you want to start applying for the jobs in that location. Now, a lot of people don't, well, the people that I've spoken to, anyways, they don't think about this or they don't realize it, but you can actually, let's say you got hired today, but you're not going to be moving until March 1st, right? You can request that your start date be March 1st. You can just say, hey, I'm not going to be moving until such and such date. Can I start on March 1st? Just because they're giving you the job now doesn't mean that you can't request a later start date. So that's first and foremost. You can request a later start date. And then also you can try to time things. So during the interview process, the recruiting process, you can let them know that you're currently in my example, Dallas, but you'll be moving to Atlanta soon. Is there any flexibility with starting from home remotely, or do you have to start in person? And if so, is there any flexibility with the start date? Again, requesting a later start date. So that's another workaround. But you definitely want to start and go ahead. If you haven't built up a brand and started marketing yourself and you can't get jobs on demand, you want to go ahead and start applying immediately and not wait until you get to that new location. And just try to time it. And if you can't time it just right, then just ask them. Just let them know your situation and ask them, can you push back the start date? Okay, great question. So I have another one from Jesse. Y'all better get y'all questions in. It looks like Jesse and Janita is gonna get all the questions today. Not that it's a problem, but get your questions in. Okay, it looks like, okay, he already asked that one. So the next one is, where is it? I can't see. Okay. How do I know if I should apply for smaller biotech CROs or sponsor side entry level CRA roles if you are just getting started? So, Jesse, I need a little bit more information. What do you mean when you say, how do you know? So, there's no, you can get your initial CRA job on either side, on the CRO side, the pharma side, the biotech side, a small company, a big company. The sky is really the limit. There's no one way is the better way type of scenario. It's literally going to be up to you and your goals and your personal preferences, which is why every time I work with people, in the beginning, we always talk about goals and your values, your philosophies, what you want essentially, because you can literally create the career of your dreams. You can literally create it. I've done it. My clients have done it. I know many people that have done it. If you just really focus on setting a goals, having a clear vision, and creating an action plan to reach those goals, and then just executing on those steps, it can literally be that simple, y'all. So, Jesse, I need a little bit more information to answer. Unless I already answered it, let me know if I already answered it. Otherwise, can you give me some more information? Okay. I see your other part now. So Jesse says that Tiffany Ashton mentioned smaller companies equals less structure, more has to be worn, and potentially more room for career growth. So I have hesitation about applying to larger CROs. So again, Jesse, that's going to depend on you and your personal preferences. So Tiffany is correct. There are some challenges when it comes to working for larger companies, and then there are also some challenges when it comes to smaller companies. And it all boils down to, what challenges do you prefer, essentially. So that's going to be on you. Now there's always, like I said, good and bad on both sides, but typically larger companies, they have more space and more room for new CRAs. So in terms of numbers, if you're strictly talking about numbers and how many open CRA1 roles they have, they're going to have more. Because they'll bring in large groups of CRA training program positions. They'll bring in large groups at a time. So instead of having like 1 or 2 roles, they might have like 30. And they might do that every single quarter. As opposed to smaller companies, they don't exactly have that bandwidth because they don't exactly have that demand. So, but if the smaller company is the way that Tiffany talked about, then I would definitely encourage you to do so. You can definitely still land one of those positions. And the good news is that you don't have to stay. You can try out the smaller side and you can try out the larger side. Really, the sky's the limit, y'all. Whatever you want to choose, Jesse. Great question. So next question is Lesma. And let me know if I'm not pronouncing your name right. Y'all know I like to get names right. So Lesma says, hi, Jasmyn. I'm an aspiring CRA with 0 experience, but I have transferable skills in healthcare. Most jobs are asking for clinical research experience. How do I get past not having the experience? Great question, Lesma. So I talk about this quite often, and check out my podcast. Because not only do I talk about this in the solo episodes, but then all the guests that come on, we all have. There's a couple people that maybe not in this situation, but a lot of us have similar experiences in that we're trying when we first try to get into the industry, we didn't have any clinical research experience, and that's what they always ask for, right? So it goes back to brand and marketing and selling yourself. If you have healthcare experience, I don't even need to see your resume or know your background or hear any more of your story to know that you have lots of transferable skills that you can highlight and show that you can, break into the industry. But you have to be very clear and very obvious in showing this on your resume, showing this during the interview, showing this on your LinkedIn profile, wherever you're marketing yourself at. You have to make it very plain and very clear for the recruiters, the hiring managers, the companies. It's on us, it's our responsibility to show them that I'm qualified because of XYZ, and XYZ is the same thing that, CRAs do, or CTAs, or study coordinators, whatever the role is that you're applying to. But you have to make it very plain and very obvious to them. And that's where marketing yourself comes in at, and knowing how to really successfully market yourself comes in at, because if you're able to really highlight the unique components of your story and show them that, and again, I don't know any details about your background, but let's say you've been working with patients, since you said healthcare, if you can show them that you've been working with patients and that you know all about the HIPAA laws and patient privacies, and even in the regular practice setting, there's still some privacy laws, there's still some consenting that needs to be done, with patients consenting to have certain procedures and things, being a part of different procedures and things. So you could say you've participated with consenting patients, you've been dealing with patient medical records, and all of those things are things that are going to be a part of being a CRA or the clinical research space in general. So those are just some few examples of things that you can really highlight and really bolden in your conversation, on your resume, your LinkedIn profile, what have you. You really want to make those things stand out and say, yes, no, I have not. And during the interview, definitely don't start off with what you don't have. Regardless of whether you don't have anything, you always want to pivot and say, I don't exactly have experience in that specifically. However, I have experience in this, and then show how it ties into the experience that they specifically asked you about. But I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of things that you've done in your healthcare experience that are very similar things, if not the exact same things that you would be doing in the clinical research space. But you just have to clearly articulate that when it comes to branding and marketing yourself. So on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, if you're on other job search platforms, if you're networking, whether it's in a live event, offline, what have you, you have to be very clear in articulating that and those skills. So great question. Okay, next question. Brooke. And what is this? Okay, I thought I missed somebody. My comments are all over the place in this platform. Okay, so Brooke, I have 8 years oncology research experience running all aspects of studies from start to finish, but I'm still not getting callbacks for lack of monitoring experience. What point should I focus on in my application or resume to get an interview? So Brooke, great question. And tell me a little bit more. I would love to hear what type of, you said you have 8 years of oncology research experience, but what type of oncology experience specifically? I'll be curious to know that. And then you said you're still not getting callbacks. So if you aren't getting any callbacks, then how do you know that it is because of lack of monitoring experience? Where did you get that information from if you haven't received any callbacks? So please drop that in the comments so I can give you the best answer I can give you. And while you're doing that, let me hop over into the next one. So it says LinkedIn user again. Do you think changing positions after 6 months of your first CRA position can be hurtful to someone's career in clinical research? No. I'm not one of them people that's gonna tell you that, oh, you gotta stay somewhere for X amount of time. If you've been somewhere for 6 months and another company is willing to hire you, even though you've only been at that one company for 6 months, then obviously it's not a problem, right? So why make it a problem? I feel like, back in the day when people had pensions and unions and all that stuff, it was a big thing to stay with companies for years and really be loyal and invest your time, right? But I'm a big proponent of you being the CEO of your own career. And just like the company that, you're currently, that, let's say in this example that you just gave, the current company that you were at for 6 months, if they wanted to let you go, they would let you go, right? And they wouldn't give you an excuse or reason. They might not even give you notice. They might just tell you the day of, you're done, right? That's how companies operate. So they have a bottom line, they have goals, and you being the CEO of your career, you need to have a bottom line and you need to have goals. And if you moving on to another company is what's in best interest for you and your career, your company, you got to do it, right? No, it won't hurt your career. I don't believe in job hopping, so to speak. I feel like what people think of as job hopping is really a tool to leverage career growth. And it's unfortunate that we even have to do it. You wish we Nobody leaves companies for fun, right? If we're leaving, it's for a strategic reason and purpose. We would all like to stay and grow with the company, but sometimes you can't stay, you can't grow, you can't get the promotions or the salary increases or what have you that you're looking for. And that's okay because somebody else will. So no, it will not hurt your career at all. Great question. Um, and then Jesse, you said, sorry for being that person, LOL. You mentioned you mentioned raking in five-figure bonuses without applying. So what are some must-have bonuses that someone catches your eye? What do you mean, Jesse, when you say what are some must-have bonuses? Some must-have bonuses for me or for you or in general? Um, Give me some more information on that one. And then Brooke, I'm still waiting on you to get back with me with some additional information. So, your specifics about your clinical research experience, and then where did you get, since you haven't gotten any callbacks, how do you know that lack of monitoring experience is the reason why you haven't been moved forward in the job application process? So both of you guys, please give me a little bit more information so I can help you out with that. Let's see. And then, oh, thanks, Jesse. Jesse is dropping links to podcast episodes. Wow. Cool. So Jesse, just so you guys can see his comment, he says that to check out podcast episode number 22. And he said it might help. He journaled while listening to it, and it definitely helps prepare you for properly marketing yourself during interviews. And journaling, y'all, is like one of the best things that you can do for your life, not just your career. I journal all of the time, like all the time. So great advice, Jesse. So Brooke, thank you for providing more information. So she has 2 years of regulatory experience, 6 years in coordination, including budgeting, startup, data entry, specimen processing, etc. Mostly phase 1 and 2 intervention. I do hear from the talent management groups and recruiters the feedback about the lack of monitoring experience. So when you said I do, and by the way, you have really great experience. You're definitely more than qualified, the same as Jesse. You're definitely more than qualified to be a CRA and transition on over. But when you say that you do hear from the talent management groups and recruiters the feedback, what do you mean? Like they told you this directly, or you hear it from other people? I need a little bit more information about from that. Because I want to drill down into the the specific part of your question about you need the monitoring experience. Um, because a lot of people come to me with this question, and they, just like you, Brooke, they say these same things, but nobody, it's very rare that I find, I won't say nobody, maybe like one or two people that I've spoken to out of like 100, let's say, has actually gotten that specific feedback directly themselves from the recruiter. And this was after the recruiter was interviewing them and they had moved on to the next phase. So if you've already gotten an interview and they're telling you don't have monitoring experience, it's not that. It's something happened in the interview or that conversation that did not go well, or something did happen or something didn't happen that they want to happen. Either way, something in that conversation didn't go well. And for whatever reason, they don't always like to be honest with their feedback. But if you've made it to the interview, they knew how much experience you had before they brought you in, and nobody's interviewing for fun. So that's not why. But if you haven't made it to the interview, I always like to ask this question. So, okay. So Brooke, yes, please give me some more feedback about that specific monitoring piece. Did the recruiters say this to you directly, or did you hear this like through somebody else? So Jesse says, I just meant that I'm very new to bonuses in general, so I'm not very knowledgeable on the material. Just want to know when I'm being offered a good offer with good bonuses or if I'm being lowballed, but also don't want to be too picky. I'm just excited to work as a CRA to be, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, so that's a really great question. And you're right, Jesse. If you're not used to getting bonuses, you don't even know what to expect, right? So one bonus that you can get, especially if you're like a brand new, fresh baby CRA, is a home office stipend or home office bonus or setup fee. They might call it different things, but essentially, it's some startup money to get your home office together. So that's one bonus that you can be on the lookout for. And y'all, if they don't offer this to you, you can ask. Feel free to ask. Don't ask until after they give you the offer. So if you're still in that interviewing phase and they haven't extended the offer yet, don't bring up none of this. Wait until they give you the offer and then say, then that's when you counter offer and you say, what about the home office bonus and the other bonuses? So that's one. The annual bonus is the obvious one. There were a few companies that weren't offering annual bonuses, but I think those have caught up with the rest of the industry. So there's the annual bonus, and a lot of times they'll say it's based on performance, which performance meaning your metrics, like have you been turning in all of your reports within the expected time frame? Have you been conducting a certain number of visits each month? Have you been completing all your trainings in a timely manner? Have you been, submitting all your letters? Are you caught up on all your action items? Those are the metrics that they typically use to determine performance. And depending on performance, they'll give you a certain percentage of your salary. But some companies have annual bonuses based upon the company's performance and not your performance. So how well the company did. So that's another bonus. And then sometimes you can get quarterly bonuses as well. And that may depend on the number of visits that you've done. Again, going back to performance, the number of visits that you've done for the quarter, if you far exceeded it, if you're doing above and beyond types of things. And sometimes I've even gotten bonuses where I've worked with challenging clients and they, required some, let's just say, non-traditional requests. So I've gotten like just extra sponsor specific bonuses that I've been offered if I stayed on with the projects for a little bit longer than I had planned. So there's always room for any types of bonuses you can get. Did I say sign on? I don't think I did. Also, sign on bonuses, Jesse. Sign on bonuses. And that's literally just for agreeing to join the company. Now, some companies might have stipulations attached to it, and they might say you have to stay with them for a year or 2 years or something like that, or 3 months, whatever the case may be. But a sign on bonus is another thing that you can look out for. So when it comes to the home office stipend, I've seen between like 1 and 3,000. And then with the sign-on bonuses, they vary pretty wide range. I've seen like 5K up to like 25, 30K sign-on. And then quarterly bonuses, again, it's wide range. I've seen like 5 to 10K up to, I think the most was like maybe 20, 25K. Yeah, I think for quarterly. Annual, the most I've seen, the least I've seen was like about 3 or 4K, I believe. And then the most I've seen for an annual was about 15 or 20, if that helps out. So let me know if I answered your question, Jesse. If not, drop some more questions in the comments. Okay. And Brooke, I'm still waiting on you to let me know when your the second part that you added where you said I do hear from talent management groups and recruiters the feedback. Have you gotten this information directly yourself? Okay. Thank you. I see your comment come in now. There's a delay, y'all. So if you sent it and you're like, oh my God, I already sent it, there's a delay. I'm not losing it. So Brooke, definitely, yes, a recruiter has directly told me the sponsor was specifically wanting to hire CRAs with no monitoring experience. With monitoring experience, I have mentioned assisting in audit preparation to show an experience in that arena, but the screening calls seem to go very well otherwise. So it sounds like you're talking about this one specific job. And yes, there are some times where there are sponsors who only want CRAs that have X amount of years of experience monitoring, and then on top of that they might require X amount of years of experience in a specific TA therapeutic area, right? So there are those instances, but that is the exception and not the rule. Most entry-level CRA jobs don't require any monitoring experience, even if they have it listed on the job description, on the JD, on the requisition. Still not an absolute requirement. When I got my first, for example, when I landed my first CRA job, that job description had 2 years of monitoring experience required listed on it, and I didn't have any, like not even an hour. So going back to your original question of how do you, and let me pull that back up because that was a little ways ago. So going back to your original question is what points should you focus on in your application and resume to get an interview? All of the other great experience that you told me that you have, so showing them, and you saying that you had auditing experience in that in your last comment, that's great. You said you've been working on budgeting and startup data entry specimen it sounds like you have a little bit of everything, right? 2 years of regulatory, all of that. You just want to highlight that, and it sounds like this one position that you're talking about, it just wasn't a good fit because the sponsor was literally looking for some very specific requirements. And sometimes you just might not have that, right? But don't let that discourage you or make you think that all sponsors are like that. All sponsors, all companies are the same, because they're not. There's lots and lots. Like I said, that's the exception, not the rule. So there's much, much more companies that will love to have somebody like you without monitoring experience than not. So don't let that discourage you, but just, it sounds like you're already doing the right things. You just need to put yourself out there a little bit more. And I don't know how strong your branding and marketing is, but I'm going to always direct you guys back to BMS, because that's really going to be key, to really put yourself out there. And another thing that I would point out is it's kind of hard to give advice without seeing your resume or your LinkedIn profile. But generally speaking, another thing that I would like to point out is that you really have to focus on, when it comes to branding yourself, really creating a story, a narrative about, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and say that you want to be a CRA, you're ready to be a CRA, this is why you're ready to be a CRA. And like to put yourself out there, kind of like in your face type of put yourself out there. So posting on LinkedIn, those types of posts. You can even do something like this. You can go live. You can go live and you can talk about the things that you know. Recruiters are always watching. So you can just start talking about your regulatory experience and what you've learned in your regulatory roles, for example. And you can talk about, I'm assuming that you were at the site. I don't know. Maybe you were at the CRO side, but whichever one, the ISF, the TMF, maybe both. Maybe you have experience with both. You can talk about both. You can talk about reconciliation at the end of a study. But these are ways that you can expose yourself and really brand yourself as, when I say brand yourself, I don't mean like some colors and a little logo or, something cute, But I really mean, like, when people see you, Brooke, they should know, oh my God, Brooke is this amazing study coordinator. She used to be a regulatory coordinator, and she's ready to be a CRA. She wants to be a CRA. She's ready to be a CRA because she knows this, this, and this. And she really values this, this, and this. Like, that should be Brooke, and all those things should just become synonymous because you've really branded yourself to be that person. So when you branded yourself well enough, branding and marketing, really selling too, it all kind of goes hand in hand. They play off of each other. So if you branded yourself well enough, then that in and of itself will kind of do the marketing for you. So you don't have to be as heavy on like the putting out the post all the time or doing all the extra stuff. But it depends on where you are when it comes to branding and marketing yourself. If you're like just getting started, you might have to do a little bit more, or a little, a few extra things, as opposed to somebody who's further along and they really already established their brand and really, have put themselves out there and marketed themselves. But I would say that, like, find creative ways to show your knowledge. On your resume, like I said before, you just really gotta highlight these things, but in a qualitative way, and really show your accomplishments and your achievements. So don't just say managed ISF or managed TMF, but put more, put some numbers behind it, put some more details in it. For example, how many studies did you manage the ISF or the TMF for? How many sites were there total? If you're working on the CRO, if you're working on the site side, how many patients did you enroll? The type of study it was for, how long was the study? Because then that'll give the recruiter, the company, a feel for if it was a short, quick study. The regulatory files aren't going to be as complex as a study that's like 3, 4, 5 years long. So it'll give them an idea and understanding of, how much in depth your ISF, TMF, whatever, your regulatory experience is. But that's what I mean when I say highlight and really show and make it clear and make it plain. I typically find that either people are not given enough information or they're just given too much information. And it's challenging for some people to find that balance in between. But it really can be simple. I think that if we take all of of course, when you're in the heat of the moment and you're trying to find that first job and you're like just scrambling and trying to do all the things, right? But less is truly more. So simple, straight to the point, but no fluff. We need really in-depth information to show. And I can already tell that you have a lot of really great experience. It's just a matter of articulating that in a way that showcases those skills, clearly showcases those skills. So let's see. What's the next question? So Jesse has another question. Jesse's on fire, y'all. He has several questions. And definitely I can see what time is it? It's 7:40. So I'm gonna take a few more. I'm gonna take the rest of Jesse questions. And if you have some more, please go ahead and pop them in because I'm trying to I have a hard stop. I have a call at 8. So 7:45. I'm trying to make it a hard stop. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. So Jesse's question: how did or do you gauge a company culture and how the team worked together if the team was managed well? Glassdoor seems to have mixed reviews on many major CROs, and it seems like finding a supportive team is a luck of the draw. Yeah, you pretty much got it, Jesse. It is, the luck of the draw. And don't listen to Glassdoor. Glassdoor, I haven't found the time where Glassdoor is actually accurate. They have the salaries all over the place, the feedback. Like, you have that one person that says something really rude and nasty, then you have these other people that's praising it. And it's really each individual's own experience. And then, a matter of who pissed them off at what time, and then them coming on there and venting. So take Glassdoor with a grain of salt. I don't even look at Glassdoor, honestly. But it really is the luck of the draw. Sometimes the smaller companies have a better culture, and better really depends on what type of culture you're looking for, because they have like that close-knit family type of environment or culture. Some people don't like that. Some people want to be a number. They don't want to be seen. So that's where you go for the larger CROs. So it just kind of depends. Now, that's a question that you can definitely ask during the interview. I always say during the time where it's your opportunity to ask questions, just ask, what's the company culture like? how the people that are interviewing you, how has your experience been working with the company? And if there's any specifics that you're looking for, let's say you like to have company outings, company parties, ask about it. Do y'all have company outings? Do y'all have company parties? If you're working remotely, well, how do you stay connected with one another? Just ask. You can always ask. Ask away. I'm the queen of questions. So, Jesse, next question is, what types of questions did you ask? Um, I'm pretty sure that goes, you're asking me that based off of something I said. So please give me a little bit more information, Jesse. What do you mean? What type of questions did you ask? I think you might be piggybacking off of the company culture question. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I already gave you some questions. So, if I didn't answer you right, let me know. Okay. And then next question I see from Jesse again. So what types of questions did you use the company website at all? Did I use the company website to figure out the company culture? Is that what you mean, Jesse? Please clarify on that. And then while you're clarifying, so Salima's question is, can we negotiate a salary that they already specify the range? Absolutely. Absolutely, Salima. I always say negotiate. Now, you might counter offer and they might come back and reject it, right? They might say, nope, this is the only range we're willing to give our CRA ones. They might say that, but the worst thing they can do is say no. But you always, even if they tell you straight up, we're not going past 80K, you say, okay, fine. And then when they give you the offer, very confidently say counter offer. You at least got to say 85, right? At least try to throw in a bonus or something. Never just take what they offer you, even if it's more than what you were expecting. Even if, let's say, they told you 80, they came back at 90. You still, whatever they gave, whatever offer, whatever number they gave you, trust and believe that's not the highest that they're typically willing to go. There's always wiggle room for a little bit more, whether that's salary, whether that's bonus. So definitely ask, Salima. Next question, Nina. Hey, Nina. I don't know if I haven't seen, did you join last week? I don't remember seeing you. So could you give me some ideas as to where I can get some additional exposure to all the aspects of clinical trials? The study I'm on as a CTA is huge, and I feel like I'm getting limited exposure to the different parts of the study and really the workings of trials. I ask for additional tasks whenever I can, but I just want to learn as much as possible. So the CTA role, outside of the study coordinator role and the in-house CRA role, those are like the best roles that you're going to get, Nina, when it comes to the path to the CRA. Those are like they're always going to be my top 3 roles to get into that CRA position, just because of the different types of experiences that you get or exposure that you get in those roles. Now, you said that you feel like you're getting limited exposure. So if you feel like sharing more details, drop them in the comments. I would love to hear more details about the type of exposure that you're getting. But I wouldn't get too caught up in the details or lost in the weeds, because I feel like, especially for the people that want to be CRAs, because we're typically type A analytical type of people, and we always feel like there's more to learn, or I want to be more prepared, or I want to have this or that, right? That's kind of like how our brains work. That's why you want to be a CRA in the first place. But I'm pretty sure, without you even telling me whatever else is going on, that whatever the CTA job that you have now, it's enough experience. So don't feel like you need to transition out of that role and then go into get, drug safety, or you need to get a regulatory role, or, branch out and do some data entry, something else, just because you feel like, oh, I want to get exposure in this, I want to get exposure in that. Keep doing what you're doing. And I would say that, I don't have all the details, but my guess is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you aren't doing this when you have your one-on-ones with your manager, right out the gate, when I'm meeting with my manager, when I first join a company, the very first call, I let them know what my goals are right out the gate. So there's no misunderstanding, no confusion. We are on the same page, the same track, and we need to get the ball rolling, right? So if you haven't already done that, you want to speak to your line manager and let them know, hey, these are my goals, and can you please help support me in finding opportunities and, whatever. If, let's say, you want to learn more safety stuff, some more safety experience, right? If you can't get support from your manager, because sometimes you just have bad managers, that's fine. Go on I don't know if your company uses Microsoft Teams, or they got to use something like that, Skype or something, but you can go and you can look for other people in the company with the job titles that you want. Or the job titles with whatever experience you feel like you're lacking. So let's say that you wanted more startup experience, right? Look for the startup people in the company and you just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm trying to get more experience in startup. Do you mind if I join in on a call? Do you mind if we share screens and you show me what you're doing when you're working on a project? Like, take that approach. One by one, find different mentors and people within your company that you can you use pretty much as mentors, and sit in on their meetings, sit in on their projects, get help and support from them. So those are the two main ways, but I wouldn't say necessarily that you need to hop into another role, because sometimes that can backfire, especially if you're already in a CTA role. If you were in another role, then I would say, okay, maybe consider that. But because you're in a CTA role already, I would need more information before I could really like advise you one way or the other. But if you aren't doing the things that I just talked about with the line manager and networking with the people in the company, take a more aggressive approach with getting what you want and need within the company. A lot of times, especially women, we take a more passive approach. We don't want to be, the aggressive one, or the one that is causing trouble or doing this or doing that. But this is our career, y'all. You're the CEO of your career and you got to act like it. So if you have a goal, you have an agenda, you have something that you want to do or meet, you have to take an aggressive approach. And it's just fair game. There's no hard feelings. You don't need to feel ashamed about it. You don't need to apologize. You don't need to do any of that. You just need to do what's best for you in your career. So I hope that helped. And if I didn't answer your question, let me know. If you have more questions based off of what I just said, let me know, Nina. Okay, 7:50. I'm gonna answer the next couple of questions from Selena and Jesse, and then I'm gonna have to cut it off. So Selima's question was, if we get a rejection from a company, can we still apply for another job in the same company? Yes, absolutely. You can. You can always apply again, even to that same position or another position in the company. And then Jesse, did you ever experience burnout from traveling? How did you deal with it? Oh, yes, absolutely, Jesse. Whew. Burnout is real. Okay, you hear me? And I would say I was probably burnt out in my first year. It didn't even take long. But I also worked for a larger CRO who, let's just say, 1 year of experience there is like 4 or 5 years somewhere else. So how did I deal with it? I got a life coach. I got a therapist. I guess she technically falls into a life coach kind of category, but it was more so like mindset life coach type of thing. So I got different types of coaches and therapists, because I really had to um it can be very stressful sometimes with the travel and the burnout and all of that. So you really have to work on the internal. Let's put it that way. Working on the internal will be your best friend. Internal meaning you and all of your whatever struggles that you have going on, challenges, things that you need to work on, whether it's childhood trauma, drama, whatever that case may be, limiting beliefs, whatever it is, working on those things, that will be your best asset. And then comes the external things, like the tools and the resources to get organized and to manage, time management skills, things like that. And then really learning how to say no. Learning how to say no is your best friend. It really is. There's sometimes, and people will really, especially in our industry, they'll push your boundaries if you let them. And if you're the person that they know is always going to say yes, they're going to always bring you more to do. So you really, really have to learn to say no, and you really have to be the master of your time. So that's how I dealt with it. And then Jesse says, last question. Any inspirational words for people all over the aspiring CRA spectrum? Okay. Um, Last words. I would say don't give up. Don't give up. That's really the only thing that can stop you from reaching your goal and from, creating the career of your dreams is if you give up. But if you keep going and you don't give up and you keep searching for answers and you keep, if something's not working, let that go, try something different, right? But if you don't give up and you keep putting forth that effort and that energy, eventually you will reach your goal. You will definitely reach your goal. So that's all the questions that we have for tonight. And if you do have any more questions, I know I tried to like I said, I have a hard stop. Send them, DM me any more questions that you have that I wasn't able to get to. Because I want to be able to answer all of your questions, but I will be. So next week, just so you guys know, next week I'll be out of town. Right? What's today? The 9th? Yeah, next week I'll be out of town. I'm going on a coaching retreat myself, like with my coach. I have coaches too, y'all. So I'm a big proponent of coaching, but I have a retreat with my coach. So I will be out of town next week. So I won't be doing Q&A next week, but we'll be back up and running the week after that. So DM me your questions if you have any questions in the interim. But for those of you who are interested in working with me and you want to, learn more about how you can work with me, I have a 6-month coaching program where I help clinical research professional women land their first CRA job offer with no monitoring experience. We talked about that today. No CRA certification, none of the things that people tell you that you need, none of those things. I do it all simply through teaching you how to brand, market, and sell yourself. And my program includes an initial onboarding call where we will audit, revamp, and recreate your resume, cover letter. I do cover letters too, and then your LinkedIn profile so that you can start immediately creating the job attraction system and bringing in, the jobs to you. Branding, marketing, and selling yourself, essentially. You'll also get 6 months of weekly coaching just with me. So private coaching sessions. You'll get immediate access to my online curriculum. You also get direct messaging support with me so we can communicate outside of our calls. You get a mock interview with a recruiter. You get bonus courses on negotiating the offer, how to fast track your career once you land your offer. You get a guide on creating a CRA career plan. So we create that together and so much more, y'all. So if you're ready to land your first CRA job offer and you would like to work with me, book a sales call with me and learn more about how I can help you. Just visit aspiringcra.com. So, let's see. Do I have any more questions? Nope, just thank yous. Okay, awesome. So thank you guys as always for joining me. It's been a pleasure. And like I said, next week I won't be on, but I'll still be around. So DM me any questions that you have, and then we'll join back up the following week. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but not this coming Monday, but the next Monday. So yeah, other than that, you guys have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.